Hello, everybody. Hey, guys, I hope you all are doing well. Hey, welcome back to the IT Trainer. It's been a little bit of time getting through the holiday for me, but I'm back and we're ready to go. This is part 14 of our What is a Cloud / Cloud Plus certification series. Hey, guys, you may notice I've got a microphone in front of my face here and also some headphones on. I'm trying to up my audio game. So if you have any comments on the audio and how it sounds, would you please leave it in the comments, because I really want to do the best job I can for you guys. But I want to welcome you back. So we're going to do another demo. We left off on part 13. We did a nice long 2-part demo on building a virtual machine, if you guys remember. So now I want to go one step further, and we're going to build a container. And we're going to build this container right inside of Azure, obviously. And if you remember from our earlier series, our earlier episodes, if you will, and there were 13 episodes. By the way, guys, don't forget to subscribe because you'll get notifications when all my new episodes are coming out. And as I said earlier in this series, I'm going to be doing this complete cloud series for you. And then I'm going to move into Certified Ethical Hacking, a CEH series of about 20 or 30 demos that are going to help all of my subscribers and all of my folks that are new to my channel. It's going to help you with learning ethical hacking, what the bad guys do, and also will help you get your CEH certification. And I'm going to do that via demo. So, hey, guys, make sure you subscribe so you'll know when those things are coming out. But I mean it. Please let me know what you think of the audio. I've got a new mic. I've got a new Apollo interface here, and I'm trying my best to give you guys the best experience I can. Okay, so a container object. Containers contain something, right? Just like a water glass contains water. Well, a container contains an application. This is a way for us to run an application in the cloud in such a way that I don't need a virtual machine, meaning me as the cloud service customer, I don't need to build a virtual machine and then host an application in that virtual machine. Now, I can certainly do that if I want. If I want the management responsibility of the VM, if I want more control over the environment, maybe you'll want to have a virtual machine. But hey, a lot of people just want to put an application up on the internet in the cloud so that maybe their employees or customers can gain access to the application. I'll give you a perfect example. You guys are on YouTube right now. Well, guess what? YouTube is hosting an application that provides streaming. YouTube is the Google Cloud. If you go to Office 365, you're using applications in the cloud. They're hosted in containers. Same thing with your Google apps if you're using Google applications. So you use this all the time, and you may not even know that you're using it. So what is an advantage of a container? A container is, by the way, a virtual environment, but the difference is the cloud service provider is hosting the actual virtual machine that you're running your container on top of. I'm not building my VM. I'm simply going in and I'm going to use, like you'll see in a minute, I'm going to use the Azure portal to deploy an isolated Docker container. And we're going to make the application in that container available over the internet by using a fully qualified domain name. Much like you go to a website, www.whereverimgoingontheinternet.com, enter, boom, there's your website. We're going to go to a fully qualified domain name, and instead of a website opening up, an application would open up. So I may have teleworkers working from home, and they need to use this application to do their jobs. They open up a browser, they go to myapp.mycontainer.com, and boom, there's the application. They'll authenticate to that application if I build it that way, and they'll go ahead and use it. So I'm in the Azure portal right here on the left. You can see the Azure portal. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the top left. You see right here under Azure Services, it says Create a Resource. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create a Resource. What kind of a resource am I going to create? Well, I'm going to create a container. So I'm going to click on Containers. And then I'm going to go ahead under Containers. I'm going to click Container Instances, which is right here. Right? I'm going to go to Container Instances here. So I am going to build an instance of an actual container itself. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Now, I am on, notice, the Basics tab. Whenever you use Azure, all of these wizards, they're tabular wizards. So you can see I have the Basics tab right up top here to the left. If I move over, this is the Networking tab, the Advanced, the Tags, and Review and Create. So these would be considered, guys, the different sections of the wizard that you will use to build whatever it is you're building. And you saw me do this when I built the virtual machine in previous episodes of this series as well. So what we're going to do here is we are going to begin to work through the wizard. So the first thing is the subscription. Now, notice in the subscription, I only have pay-as-you-go. Well, this is a part of the subscription that I use. Pay-as-you-go simply means that as I build something, I pay for it. Now, I'm not paying for it right away when I'm building it, but as it's being used, I end up paying for it. At the very end of this, it's going to be deleted anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, notice under Resource Group, right? Under Resource Group, we can create a resource group. I already have one created in here. It's called UC_AZ_0041 group. This is just an existing resource group that I have that I use. Then we're going to scroll down a little bit more and notice we've got to give our container a name. And you can call this whatever you want to call it. I'll call it Web Container. Sorry, guys, a little difficult looking around a mic when I'm trying to type here. Web container hyphen, and I'm just going to go ahead and name it after me. Okay, there you go. Next, we have the region. Now, if you, if you watched previous demos when I talked about the virtual machine creation, I believe that would have been in part 12 or maybe 11, 12, and 13 or 12 and 13. I talked about what a region is. Now, what is a region? Whoops, I got something wrong here. The container must contain only lowercase letters, Mr. Tim. So let me go back and change that. Sorry. Tim E. How about that? There we go. So the region, guys, the region is the geographical location that I want this particular, in this instance, the container to be. Now, if you remember in previous episodes, I gave you an important tenet of networking. We want to bring the resources as close to the users wherever they are in the world. So I'm in sunny Florida here, so I'm going to pretend my employees, if you will, are on the East Coast with me. So I have a couple options. I have East US and East US 2, and I did a real thorough explanation of zones and regions. I hope that you guys would go back and watch those videos, especially for those of you that are going to be taking the Cloud Plus certification. The Eastern U.S. is pretty much from Virginia all the way up north. Eastern U.S. 2 is pretty much from the lower part of Virginia all the way down south. Okay, and if I'm deciding to put this container in a region, what am I really doing? I'm putting this container or the virtual machine or whatever I'm building at the time in a data center somewhere geographically located in that area. Now, I'm just going to leave it on Eastern U.S. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And then we have the availability zone. Okay, let me go ahead and add some time here because I'm going to be explaining a lot of this to you. So let me add some time. Then we have availability zone. Do I want this particular application to be redundant? Do I want multiple instances of my container? Now, why would you want multiple instances of your container? You'd want multiple instances of your container in case one of those data centers goes down. So I can put my application, I'm not going to do this by the way, but I can put my application in different zones if I want to. If I want to put it in multiple zones. What is a zone? A zone is another geographical location within a region. So the eastern U.S. region goes from, let's say, Virginia all the way up to Maine and New Hampshire, etc. Well, there are tons of data centers going all the way up the East Coast from Virginia all the way up. And what Microsoft does is they broke that region up into zones, geographical regions within the region, if you will. So I could put this application in multiple physical geographical regions. So if there is a data center loss, and that may affect one of my apps, I still have other ones. So my customers, my users, if you will, are not losing access to the apps. This is an availability zone. Again, I talked in great detail about this in part 12 and part 13. Now, I'm going to leave it on none. Okay, I'm just going to leave it on none from there. Now, under image source, I have a quick start image, an Azure Container Registry-based image, or another registry. Now, what is this all about? Well, when I install applications, oftentimes they write to the registry, especially in a Microsoft product, right? If I install something, it sets itself up in the registry. Well, I can do that. I can, in essence, emulate an actual registry. Remember, I'm not setting up a virtual machine here. I'm not setting up an OS. But I may need a registry to host the application. So if that's the case, I would use an Azure Container Registry. If I have an application that uses some other type of registry, maybe a Unix registry or a Linux registry, I could choose other. I'm just going to go ahead and choose a quick start image. A quick start image, this is an image of an application that Microsoft gives you to practice and learn about exactly what you're doing in essence. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose a quick start image. Now, under image, by the way, run with Azure Spot Discount. You guys remember that from part 12? That allows Azure to take hardware, physical hardware away from you if you're not using it, or if it's not using it. I don't mean that, but Azure, Microsoft will take away from your virtual environment, which is your container, physical hardware, especially if the workload is not there. This way, it saves you money. You get a discount, and of course, Microsoft is able to use that physical hardware for other things. So I'm not going to do that. But then notice under image here, we have a bunch of images that we can build, right, if we want to do this. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it right where it is. We're going to leave it on mcr.microsoft.com, Azure Docs, ACI Hello World Latest. This is just a sample application so you can ultimately see exactly how it works, right? We're using a simple test image. And basically, this test image, if you're interested, it's using a Node-JA, Node Java application. And in essence, what you're going to see is just a static HTML web page that's being hosted as the application. Okay, now notice the size. This particular container is going to have one virtual CPU assigned to it. Now, wait a minute, I didn't build a VM. Where's that virtual CPU coming from? Them, meaning the cloud service provider. They're building the VM. They're doing this. And I'm getting 1.5 gigs of memory as well. Now, I can change that size, and I can make it bigger because I expect thousands of people to use this application. I may need a bigger infrastructure to support it. Well, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. Now, I'm going to go to the next, which is the networking tab. Okay, we're going to go to the networking tab. Notice up here, the networking type, public. That means this is going to be available to anybody out there on the web. Notice what it says right here. Public will create a public IP address for your container instance. If I put private, what does that mean? It's only going to be usable within my organization. Okay, this is not available yet for Windows. It will come at some point. And then if I choose none, that's not going to create a public IP or a virtual network. We would have to access the container and whatnot using command lines or whatever. I'm just going to leave it on public. And then I'm going to go ahead here and we're going to go ahead and just put the DNS label name that I'm going to go ahead and use. Now, you remember what the actual container name was? Web-app, right? Web-app container. Whoops, sorry, I spelled it wrong. Actually, it's web. Let me move my mouse. Web app. Sorry, guys, it's really difficult to type around this microphone. Web and then container, right? Hyphen, all lowercase TEULER, right? That's going to be the name of it, right? That's going to be the name, meaning you're going to end up going to this particular name and eventually you're going to get to that application. And notice on the side here, it says this value is optional, but if entered must be between 5 and 63 characters. Okay, that's cool. And then it says, oh, a match was found. Why was a match found? Because on the basics tab, remember what I did? I gave it that name. The DNS label name itself or part of it matches a reserved word. So there you go. You know, if you get, by the way, a red check here, your DNS label name is not matching the name of the actual container itself. So that's a problem. You want to make sure your DNS label name matches your container name. That would be like this, guys. You open up a browser and you type www.amazon.com and there is no Amazon.com webpage. You're going to get a 500 error. Can't find the page, basically, right? So that's what we're doing here. All right, if I scroll down a little bit further, we're going to access this over port 80 TCP. That's awesome, right? That's how we're going to go ahead and answer that. Or that's how we're going to go ahead and access it, I should say. Now, on the left-hand side, again, this time we're not going to go to advanced or any other tabs here. We're going to go ahead and click Review and Create. Now, what it's doing, it's looking at my configurations, and hopefully we'll get a validation that passed. And we did. We got a validation that passed. That means everything I set up should, in fact, work. Because they said, hey, your validation passed. Now, as I've said in previous demos that I've done, just because the validation passed doesn't mean the validation, or rather doesn't mean the instance is going to be created appropriately. There could be a glitch. And I can tell you one thing I've found about doing these is oftentimes it takes a while for the DNS name to actually resolve to your container. It could take 5 or 10 minutes for that to actually happen. Now, you can still get to it by the IP address, but the name oftentimes takes a while. What do I mean by that? www.amazon.com, can't find the website. Try it again, can't find the website. Try it again, can't find the website. Try it again, boom, there's the website. It took a while for that DNS resolution to post into the DNS servers. Well, in the Azure environment, it takes a little bit of time for that name to show up in their DNS infrastructure so that you can use the fully qualified domain name to get to your application. My point is, it is not a perfect science. So now I'm going to click Create. And notice what happened up top in the top corner here. The little bell, remember what that is? The notification bell. That is showing you that your deployment is in progress. We're deploying this container to this resource group, UC_AZ_0041 group. Remember what resource groups are. If you don't remember, or if you didn't see those previous part 11 and 12, I would go back and look at 12, 13, look at all of those for sure. And now this is obviously being deployed. If you go up top and click the actual bell itself, you can go ahead and see the status. Now notice what it says. The deployment has succeeded. Okay, the deployment itself has succeeded. Now, do I want to go to the resource? Well, I can choose right here, go to the resource if I want. And I can actually see the resource itself here. This is my web container, right? And notice you can see the IP address associated with that container. You can even see the fully qualified domain name associated with that container. Well, let's see if it works real quick. It might take some time. Notice under next to FQDN, this is a pretty long FQDN that someone would have to remember. Guys, we didn't build our own DNS environment with our own DNS name. Just understand that's a piece of what you would do. But I'm going to choose this copy to clipboard right here, and I'm going to open up this browser up here, and let's go ahead. You can't see what I'm doing right here, but let's actually, you know what? No, it's not available just yet. So what we'll do, how about this here? Give me just a second. What we're going to do, let's just do this the right way. It's been about 21 minutes for this episode. I'm going to stop this episode right here. And I'm going to give it about 5 or 10 minutes to let this thing settle in and let the DNS appropriately configure itself. And then I'm going to come back for part number 15, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at this application and how it functions in the browser so you can see it. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed part 14. Don't forget to come back to part 15, and you can actually see this container in use. As always, my friends, I always say this. You know I have no ads on my videos. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to share information with everybody, to help you get certified, to help you learn. And I would really appreciate a thumbs up. I'd appreciate a comment. They always say that stuff helps with the algorithm. So whatever that means, it means. And also, hey, subscribe. I'd love to have as many subscribers as I can. Thanks very much, and I'll see you back here for the next episode, part 15, coming very soon.